Unbelievable. Young waitress translates in seconds, unlocking CEO's salary and an amazing future. Zoe zipped around the bustling diner, her apron tied tight as a lifeline. The sizzling griddle and clattering plates harmonized into a symphony of hard work and hope. At just 23, she was more than a waitress, she was a fierce warrior in the battle for the American dream. Each plate served was a step toward a better future for her and her ailing grandmother, whose wisdom radiated love and resilience. As she poured coffee for a group of lively tourists, her bilingual skills kicked in. La especialidad del día es, she translated with a smile, her heart fluttering a little when she saw how their faces lit up. Amid this whirl of life, in walked Ethan, the powerful CEO. Clad in a tailored suit that screamed privilege, he seemed like a foreign body in Zoe's world. She could see him watching her, eyebrows raised as she spun expertly between tables. When she effortlessly translated for the tourists, Ethan's interest was piqued, the gears of opportunity beginning to turn. He envisioned her as more than a waitress. But as the idea of translation services simmered in his mind, the biases of the corporate world loomed large. Later, as Zoe laid out her proposal to Ethan and others in a meeting, a hush fell. She could feel the weight of skepticism, a dozen silent judgments swimming around the room. Faces turned, eyes narrowed, to them, she was just a waitress. When a senior manager dismissed her ideas with casual contempt, Zoe felt her heart drop, the sting of rejection painfully palpable. She wondered if she'd ever break free from her humble beginnings, doubt hovering like a storm cloud. Before despair could fully settle in, her grandmother's gentle voice echoed in her mind. Zoe, remember the soldier who faced 1,000 battles. Every fight is worth it. Inspired, Zoe decided to step outside her comfort zone. She attended a local community mixer, her hands trembling but her heart steady. When the moment came to pitch her idea, her nerves fluttered. The crowd watched, skepticism etched on their faces. It felt like she was standing on the edge of the world, ready to leap, or fall. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, Zoe's grandmother shared that powerful story, igniting a fire in Zoe. She could feel the rush of adrenaline, the surge of determination. It was now or never. With newfound strength, Zoe stepped forward, raising her voice. She confronted the ingrained biases of the tech world, demanding recognition for her unique insight not just as a waitress but as a voice that bridged cultures and dreams. Everyone in the room felt the tension mount. Zoe held her ground as Ethan's eyes softened, the skepticism replaced by something akin to respect. But would he really embrace his role as an ally? Could Zoe's breakthrough inspire others to venture past barriers that silenced them? As the crowd held its breath, the path forward remained hazy, filled with possibility and uncertainty. The story beckoned listeners to follow Zoe into the heart of her journey, where all would soon discover what transformation truly looked like. Zoe stood in that room, holding her breath as the air shifted around her. She could feel the weight of possibilities, but also the gravity of the moment. Faces were still etched in disbelief, but she sensed a flicker of curiosity, a spark ignited by her daring words. Ethan watched her intently, his expression revealing an unexpected support, which fueled her resolve even more. Listen, Zoe said, her heart racing. The tech world needs fresh perspectives. We can't keep recycling the same ideas. Diversity isn't just a box to check, it's a powerhouse of creativity and innovation. Her voice trembled with passion, and she caught the attention of others who had previously looked away. A woman on the far side of the room, dressed in smart business attire, leaned in, nodding thoughtfully. You make a good point. We often forget how different experiences can lead to groundbreaking solutions, she said, her tone shifting from dismissive to intrigued. Zoe felt a rush of hope. Could this be a turning point? Just then, Ethan stood up, adjusting his jacket as he moved closer to the low table where Zoe had presented her ideas. "I think we should give her a chance," he announced with surprising authority. The murmur in the room quieted immediately. The CEO had spoken. Nervousness clung to her, but she welcomed it, letting it fuel her fire. "What if we created a program that not only employed bilingual individuals in tech but also encouraged them to voice their experiences? It could revolutionize how we connect with global markets," Zoe suggested, her eyes lighting up as inspiration flowed. Ethan nodded, considering her proposal. Zoe watched as the gears turned in his brain. She could almost see the shift from incredulous doubt to genuine interest. "Let us pilot a project, test this out. What do you think?" He addressed the room. The atmosphere changed, awash with excitement. Conversations sparked to life as the audience began brainstorming ideas. With every passing moment, Zoe felt her confidence swell. It was exhilarating to see theater of the mundane transform into the marvelous, a dingy conference room bursting with fresh ideas. Just when Zoe thought her journey was turning a corner, an unexpected voice cut through the buzz. A senior manager, known for his hardline stance. "This is all very nice, but do you really believe that a waitress could effectively lead a tech initiative? There's more to it than just knowing 2 languages," he sneered, and a wave of pessimism crashed over the room. Zoe felt a knot form in her stomach. Could she rise above this? But her grandmother's voice filled her heart again. She needed to be strong. "It's not just about titles," Zoe countered, her voice firm. "It's about perspective and potential. We all start somewhere. The real question is, are we willing to embrace what could change the future?" A pregnant pause hung in the air. Then, surprisingly, Ethan gave a nod of encouragement. "Let's challenge the status quo. If not now, then when?" With a shared determination filling the room, Zoe realized that this moment wasn't just for her. It was for every person who felt underestimated and unheard. The meeting wrapped up with promises of collaboration, and Zoe left with a spark in her step. She had stepped out of the shadows, ignited a conversation, and made a mark. But her heart thumped with a mix of exhilaration and dread. Was this just the beginning? She wondered. As she exited the building, she couldn't shake the thought of what lay ahead. Would she be able to navigate the complexities of this new terrain? What challenges awaited her as she ventured into a world where she could no longer hide behind the diner's counter? Everything was shifting. And Zoe knew one thing for sure: what was next would be even more daunting than she ever imagined. A cool breeze brushed against Zoe's face as she stepped outside, invigorating her senses. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the city, a perfect metaphor for her newfound hope. But the weight of the world still loomed heavy on her shoulders. She had stirred the pot, but would it boil over? Zoe's fingers danced nervously over her phone screen. She needed to share the news but hesitated. What would her friends think? Would they celebrate her breakthrough or worry for her? Just as she was about to hit send, a message from Ethan popped up. "Great job today. You sparked a real conversation. I think we're onto something big." A smile spread across her face. It felt good to be seen and validated, especially by someone like him. She typed back quickly, "Thanks. Still can't believe it happened. Meeting tomorrow? Wouldn't miss it." This time, she pressed send without doubts. As she strolled through the streets, her mind swarmed with visions of what could come. A program championed by her. Conversations about diversity pivoting around her ideas. It was intoxicating, like coffee on a tired morning. But the back of her mind nagged at her. Questions of credibility and capability bounced around. The following morning, Zoe's heart raced as she prepared for the meeting. She dressed carefully, pulling the collar of her shirt a little higher. It felt like armor against the skeptics. Just as she exited her apartment, her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. "Stand tall, Zoe. The world needs your light." When she entered the building, the buzz of mingling colleagues filled her ears. Zoe spotted Ethan across the room, deep in conversation with the business attire woman who had supported her proposal. Their heads turned as she approached, and she felt the air shift again, this time, more confident. "Morning," Zoe greeted, diving headfirst into the dialogue. "I was thinking we should outline the specifics on how to kick off the pilot. What are your thoughts?" The room fell silent, all eyes on Ethan. "Zoe brings up a good point. We need a clear plan if we want to gain traction," he said, guiding the conversation forward. Encouraged, Zoe took a deep breath, pushing her worries aside. She suggested breaking down the project into phases and targeting key performance indicators. Suddenly, voices chimed in, building on her ideas. It felt electric. Their collective enthusiasm was a force she could ride. But then, the hardline manager spoke again, his voice as grating as nails on a chalkboard. "Can we really trust someone with no experience in leading tech projects?" His gaze bore down on her. "It's risky." Zoe's stomach dropped. Doubt crept in like fog. Was she really up for this? "With all due respect," she began, fighting the quiver in her voice. "Sometimes it's the fresh eyes that see what others cannot. I may not have the traditional background, but I understand the market from the ground up. My experience is uniquely positioned to bridge gaps." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Others began to nod, and Zoe's heart surged at the sight. Had she just shifted the tide? Just then, a woman from a competing division interrupted, her pitch-perfect tone slicing through the moment. "I think what you're saying is valuable, Zoe. New approaches are essential in tech. Why not start a collaborative workshop?" The suggestion hung in the air like a promise, and everyone leaned in closer. Ethan smiled at her, and in that moment, Zoe felt a wave of warmth wash over her. It was becoming something bigger than just her, but while excitement buzzed in her veins, a thought nagged at her. What if they wanted more from her than she could give? As the meeting wrapped up, Zoe caught sight of the hardline manager's reflection. Shadows of doubt danced across his face. She realized that the real battle was only beginning. Could she turn skepticism into belief? The steps she had taken seemed monumental, but the path ahead remained uncertain. Would this blossoming project become a stepping stone, or would it somehow backfire? And just as she started to formulate a plan, another whirling thought pushed through. What if she wasn't just a waitress anymore, but a leader forging a new way forward? The answer echoed in her mind as she stepped out of the building again, her heart racing. What would happen next? Would she rise to the occasion or falter under pressure? Zoe walked out of the meeting feeling lighter. The buzz of excitement inside her was hard to contain. It wasn't just about her ideas, it was about the energy people shared when they dared to believe in something new. But as she made her way to a nearby cafe to grab coffee, she couldn't shake off the what-ifs that darted through her mind. Would they actually listen to her? Was she really making a difference or just riding a wave of fleeting optimism? The warmth of the sun on her face reminded her to breathe. She was here, and she had something to say. That realization settled in her chest with a comforting weight. As she stirred her coffee, Zoe's phone buzzed again. Another message from Ethan. "Just reflecting on that meeting. You did great. Can't wait to see how this unfolds." Her heart leaped. He was so encouraging, and she felt a connection growing. The past few months of hard work and sleepless nights seemed to culminate in this moment. Still, doubt crept back in like a cold draft through a half-open window. What if she couldn't follow through? What if she stumbled, leaving everyone disappointed? Realizing her mind was racing, she took a deep breath, and tried to focus on what lay ahead instead. She flipped her phone open again and started drafting a group text to her friends. It felt right to share her progress with those who had always supported her. "Hey everyone. Just had a big meeting. I pitched an idea for a new initiative at work, and it got a fantastic response. Excited for what's to come." Her thumb hovered over the send button. What would they think? Would they be thrilled or would they dismiss it as just another momentary fancy? With a hint of hesitation, she pressed send. The replies came flooding in faster than she expected, each message more encouraging than the last. Way to go, Zoe. Proud of you. You got this. Let us know how we can help. Zoe grinned, feeling a rush of energy. Their support tightened the knot of determination in her gut. She was part of something now, and she wasn't alone. Later that afternoon, she met up with Ethan at a local park. They sat on a weathered bench under the shade of a sprawling oak tree. So, what's next? He asked, leaning in with genuine curiosity. I think we really need to map out a strategy, Zoe said, her voice steady. But I also want to involve as many voices as possible. It's not just my idea anymore, it's ours. Ethan nodded, his gaze unwavering. That's the spirit. Let us take it further. We can hold brainstorming sessions, get feedback, and refine your vision. It'll help validate the work you put into this. And believe me, your fresh perspective can shift everything. His faith in her ignited a fire deep within her. These moments weren't just stepping stones, they were the start of a transformation. As they spoke, Zoe could feel the possibilities expand, yet, beneath the excitement, an undercurrent of fear lingered. What if her effort wasn't accepted? What if the hardline manager sabotaged them? As the sun started dipping low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the park, Zoe's thoughts were interrupted by a sudden text notification from her workplace group chat. Glancing down, her heart raced. It was an update about the project she had just pitched. The title caught her eye, Urgent Feedback Needed on New Diversity Initiative. An uneasy feeling settled in her stomach. Was it a good sign or a warning? Ethan noticed her change in demeanor. What's up? Zoe shook her head, forcing a smile. Just an update. I did ask for feedback, and I guess I'll find out soon how they really feel about my idea. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the impending response hanging over them. Zoe couldn't shake the feeling that this was the calm before a storm, the moment just before everything changed. As the sun dipped below the horizon, she gathered her courage. Coming this far meant she couldn't back down now. Would she be brave enough to face what was coming? And as they left the park, a new sense of determination flooded through her. What would that feedback mean for her future and for the initiative she wished to champion? She realized this journey was intensifying, revealing layers she hadn't anticipated. With each step, Zoe felt the pull of change draw her in, but the real test was just around the corner. Would she be ready for it? Early the next morning, Zoe brewed a cup of coffee while watching the sunlight filter through her kitchen window. The peaceful hum of the neighborhood was a stark contrast to the anxious buzz in her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that today would be pivotal. There was no denying the urgency of that last message from work. Urgent feedback needed echoed in her mind, demanding her attention. After sipping her coffee, she decided to check her work email. With a sense of hesitation, she opened it and scanned the messages. Her heart sank a bit when she saw a reply from the head of her department. The content was straightforward: let us discuss your proposal in our weekly meeting. I have some reservations. Her breath hitched. She had expected a collaborative discussion, not an invitation to defend herself. Reservations. The word felt heavy, a weight adding to her uncertainty. She wanted to believe that her idea had merit, but the looming meeting felt like a dark storm she couldn't escape. The clock ticked away, each second reminding her that time was running short. As the hours crawled by, Zoe felt the knots in her stomach tighten further. She answered a few work emails, but the words blurred together. Ideas to enhance the initiative swirled in her mind, but doubt began to outweigh inspiration. Maybe Ethan was right, she whispered to herself. Maybe I need more support. Then she remembered the brainstorming sessions they had talked about. Why not bring her friends into the fold right now? Scrambling for her phone, Zoe sent a quick message: "Hey guys. I could use your ideas for my proposal. Can we meet tonight?" Within minutes, her phone buzzed with enthusiastic responses: and her heart lifted. The potential of collaborating with her friends fueled the hope she so desperately needed. By the time she arrived at the office later that day, her nerves were still raw. Everyone buzzed around her, seemingly oblivious to the storm brewing in her mind. She walked quickly to her desk, her focus shifting to the task at hand. Preparing for the meeting, with a few strategic notes laid out in front of her, she practiced her speech in hushed tones. But just as she felt a spark of confidence, the door to the conference room swung open, and an unexpected figure stepped inside, Laura, the head of human resources. Her stern expression sent another jolt of apprehension through Zoe. Laura was known for her no-nonsense approach and had a reputation for quickly dismantling proposals she deemed unfounded. Zoe's mind raced, thoughts colliding. Would Laura really give her a fair chance? Or would today be the day her dreams were crushed? As the meeting commenced, Zoe's palms felt clammy. The room buzzed with energy, yet she felt like an outsider peering in. Laura wasted no time leading the discussion. "Let us hear about this new initiative," she said, her eyes scanning the room, landing on Zoe. "What are your main objectives?" With her heart hammering in her chest, Zoe took a deep breath, feeling the support of her friends echo in her mind. "I believe our company could greatly benefit from a more inclusive approach to diversity in our initiatives." She shared her ideas, and to her surprise, the room listened. Questions followed, a mix of curiosity and critique. But when Zoe spoke, she noticed something shift. A glimmer of interest sparked in others' eyes, and she pressed on, buoyed by their engagement. As she wrapped up her presentation, the atmosphere in the room crackled with energy. Maybe they were ready for this after all. Or maybe the storm Laura brought would wash everything away. Just when Zoe thought she could breathe again, Laura summoned the courage to address the elephant in the room. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, Zoe. But have you considered how this approach might impact our current structures? People might push back." The word stung, and Zoe felt as though the ground shifted beneath her. She wasn't expecting a rejection, at least not so bluntly. Before she could respond, Ethan burst into the room, his face flushed. "Sorry I'm late. I was gathering some additional data for our project." Zoe's breath caught. His abrupt arrival felt almost like fate, but also overwhelming. With eyes darting between him and Laura, the air thickened with unspoken tension. In that moment, a realization pierced through Zoe's chaos: she was not just an individual with an idea. She had allies. This was a collective fight. As Ethan took a seat, Zoe turned back to the group. "I believe addressing these challenges is part of what makes our initiative important," she stated, her voice steadier now. "If we truly want to make a difference, we need to be ready to face resistance." Silence fell, but a flicker of something ignited in the room, a chance for dialogue. Zoe felt a wave of energy as she locked eyes with Ethan, who nodded encouragingly. This was bigger than just her. Would they rally behind her vision, or would the storm of doubt prevail? The answer hung heavy in the air, a question waiting to be answered. Zoe held her breath, the room silent as she awaited a response. The air felt charged, tense with possibility. Laura leaned back, measuring both Zoe and Ethan with a scrutinizing gaze. Just as the silence threatened to stretch indefinitely, one of Zoe's colleagues, Marcus, broke the stillness. "I think Zoe has a point. The industry really is changing, and we need to adapt if we want to stay relevant." His supportive tone felt like a soft balm, easing the pressure knotting in Zoe's chest. "Adaptation isn't just about change for the sake of it," Laura replied sharply, eyes narrowing. "It's about sustained productivity. Can you provide evidence that this approach would yield the results we're after?" Zoe felt the heat of embarrassment creeping up her neck. It was one thing to share ideas with friends over coffee and another to defend her vision in front of their boss. But with Ethan sitting just a few feet away, a small flame ignited within her. She could do this. "Yes, I can," she responded, her voice steadier than before. "In fact, I've gathered some trends showing that companies embracing diversity are more innovative and profitable. I can share these studies." She hesitated, her heart racing. I just think we can create a culture where everyone feels their contributions matter. It's more than just numbers, it's about empowering people. The room buzzed as colleagues exchanged glances, mulling over her words. Ethan smiled at her, an encouraging nod that made her feel a little less alone. But Laura still appeared unconvinced, her expression as hard as steel. Those studies are not always applicable to our exact environment. You'll need a more tailored approach if you want my backing. Zoe felt herself falter, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. I understand that, she replied, dejection creeping into her voice. But isn't it worth exploring, just to see how we can bridge the gap? More murmurs arose, and Zoe could sense the shift. Laura's mask faltered for a brief moment, revealing intrigue. What do you suggest? Zoe hesitated, thinking quickly. What if we host a workshop or seminar that encourages employees to voice their ideas? We could map out a plan and gather more feedback. A glimmer of interest sparked in Laura's eyes. That could be a way to gauge the landscape, but I need a detailed proposal by the end of today, outlining how this would actually take shape. A rush of adrenaline flooded Zoe. I can do that. Thank you for considering it. With a nod of acknowledgement, Laura glanced around the table. Any further thoughts? Several colleagues chimed in with modifications and suggestions. Zoe's heart swelled as they began to rally together, building on her initial idea. This was what she had longed for, a support system. When the meeting finally wrapped up, Zoe felt both exhausted and exhilarated. Ethan approached her, a grin plastered on his face. You did it. That was fantastic. I couldn't have done it without you all, Zoe admitted. Your belief gave me the courage to push through. Next time, we should prepare a backup plan, in case of Laura scenarios, he said with a wink. They laughed, but Zoe still felt the echoes of her doubts lingering. She knew they had made progress, but the fear of possible pushback from Laura still loomed. Thanks for showing up when you did, she said softly, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. I just hope they keep the door open for my ideas. Ethan's eyes met hers, earnest and sincere. You deserve that door wide open, Zoe. I believe it will be. As they parted ways, Zoe felt a strange mixture of relief and dread. The proposal would have to be perfected, but a new determination stirred in her chest. Later that evening, as Zoe gathered her friends at her apartment, energy buzzed in the air. The laughter and chatter revived her spirit, and for the first time, she felt a solid connection in their collective cause. Let us make this happen, she said, feeling their excitement lift her. Together. But as they brainstormed ideas, doubt flickered back into her mind. What if they couldn't meet Laura's expectations? What if the feedback was relentless and critical? Just before the meeting rolled back into her thoughts, Ethan interrupted. No more what-ifs, Zoe. We're in this together. Zoe felt a sense of comfort but knew that the real test awaited. Okay, but will they see what we see? As they tossed ideas back and forth, she realized this fight was only just beginning. And with that thought, she couldn't shake the sensation that just around the corner lurked a challenge bigger than any she had faced before, ready to turn everything upside down. Zoe sat cross-legged on her living room floor, surrounded by friends and empty pizza boxes. Each person was scribbling notes or tapping away on their laptops, fully invested in their shared mission. The atmosphere was electric with excitement, but in the back of Zoe's mind, a nagging worry loomed. What if they weren't enough? Okay, how are we going to structure the workshop? Mia asked, her pen hovering over her notebook. Zoe straightened up. We need a clear agenda. Start with icebreakers to make everyone feel comfortable. Then, we can dive into brainstorming sessions. Don't forget to lay down the objectives. We need everyone to know why this matters, Ethan added, leaning in closer. His enthusiasm was infectious, a spark she desperately needed. Right, Zoe nodded, writing it down. Let them know that their input could shape our future. Like, actual changes in the workplace. As they flowed into ideas, Zoe's heart swelled. This was community, support, everything she had longed for. The doubts faded for a moment, but then they crept back in. What if Laura still dismissed their efforts? Are we missing anything? Jack's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back into the room. Maybe we should have some great examples of companies that succeeded through workshops like this. It'd add weight to our proposal, Mia suggested. Zoe smiled, heart racing with hope. Great thinking. I'll find some case studies tonight to include. But just then, her phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from Laura. Can we meet first thing tomorrow? The air in the room shifted, and Zoe felt her stomach drop. Guys, we need to talk about something. What's wrong? Ethan looked concerned. Laura wants to meet tomorrow morning. Her voice trembled slightly. Before we get the proposal ready. Silence settled uncomfortably. Mia exchanged glances with Jack, who shrugged. Do you think she is going to shoot us down before we even get a chance? I don't know, Zoe replied, her voice barely a whisper. What if she has more demands? Or Zoe, Ethan interrupted gently, we can only control what we have. Focus on the workshop. Let us use whatever feedback we get tomorrow to make it even better. Yeah, and remember, every good idea starts with a little risk, Jack added, nudging her shoulder. You've got this. A wave of gratitude washed over her. They were right, she couldn't let fear overshadow their progress. The workshop was a step in the right direction. Okay, you're right, Zoe said, pulling herself together. We need to show her that we're serious about this. They continued planning late into the night, working together like a well-oiled machine. The laughter and shared ideas kept the momentum alive, even as sleep pulled at their eyelids. As Zoe lay in bed, she couldn't shake the anxiety of tomorrow's meeting. Would Laura really be receptive, or was she just leading them on? Would this opportunity open doors, or would it close them tight? Morning came too quickly, the sun streaming through her window. Zoe dressed with purpose, trying to silence the nervous flutter in her stomach. As she walked into the office, determination propelled her forward. With each step to the conference room, she focused on the work ahead. She couldn't wait to present not just an idea, but a chance for change. But deep down, another worry would not leave her alone. What happened if Laura wasn't ready to embrace this leap forward? Taking a deep breath, she opened the conference room door, only to find Laura already seated, flipping through her notes. And sitting beside her Ethan. Let us get started, shall we? Laura smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. Zoe felt icy fingers grip her heart. This was it. Would the ideas they had worked so hard on spark a fire, or would they fizzle out before getting a chance to burn bright? And as Zoe opened her mouth to speak, the words caught in her throat, holding a secret that could change everything. What would really happen if Laura said no? Zoe's palms felt clammy as she glanced between Laura and Ethan. Their expressions were unreadable, and the tension in the room hung like a thick fog. She steeled herself, reassuring thoughts racing through her mind. Thanks for meeting with us, Laura, Zoe finally managed, her voice taking on a steadiness she didn't feel. We've been working hard on some ideas for the workshop, and we believe it could really benefit everyone. Laura nodded slowly, her gaze flicking from Zoe to the notes on the table. I'm glad to see you're taking initiative. But you know how things go around here. I need to be sure this has the potential to bring measurable change. Zoe swallowed, the weight of Laura's expectations pressing down on her like 1,000 bricks. Absolutely, she said quickly, trying to project confidence. We've already started brainstorming a few key objectives, like improving communication and collaboration across teams. I think before we dive into that, Laura interrupted, leaning forward slightly, I'd like to hear a bit about how you plan to get buy-in from the rest of the team. People can be resistant, you know. The question struck Zoe like a punch to the gut. She hadn't even considered how to rally broader support. Panic surged through her, but she forced a smile, recalling the supportive words from her friends the night before. We thought about starting with some icebreakers and emphasizing the personal benefits of the workshop. If they feel like they have a stake in this, they'll be more likely to engage. Ethan chimed in, filling the silence that threatened to engulf them. We also have examples of successful workshops at other companies. It's all about how those leaders recognized their employees' needs and created an environment that encouraged input. That's smart, Laura replied, shifting her posture. Zoe's heart raced at the slightest hint of approval. For a moment, hope flickered. Was Laura opening up? And what about potential pitfalls? Laura's tone shifted, her intensity sharpening. Have you thought about challenges you might face? Zoe felt her earlier courage waver as she realized the implications of that question. We have, she stammered, her own uncertainty leaking into her voice. But we believe those challenges are manageable as long as we can present it in a way that connects with everyone. Manageable, huh? Laura pressed, her eyes narrowing slightly. Sounds like you're counting on a lot of goodwill from people who may not be inclined to offer it. Zoe's heart raced even faster. We think that if they see real change happening, they'll want to be part of it, she stammered, searching for an anchor to keep herself steady. Ethan placed a hand on Zoe's arm, a silent reminder that she wasn't alone. It can be a journey, but each small success can build momentum. Showing that we care about teamwork can shift perspectives. For a moment, the room fell silent. Zoe's thoughts swirled, and she noticed that Laura remained still, her expression contemplative. Maybe this wasn't just about convincing Laura anymore. Perhaps it was about crafting a vision big enough to inspire everyone. As Zoe took a deep breath, she felt something shift within her. If we can demonstrate that the workshop is about listening to everyone and addressing actual needs, I believe we can change minds. Laura didn't respond immediately. Instead, she leaned back in her chair. Zoe sensed the weight of the moment hanging in the air, and uncertainty clawed at her once more, but then, just as a flicker of hope began to swell, Ethan's phone buzzed loudly, shattering the tension. Zoe glanced nervously at Laura, who raised an eyebrow. Should we take that? Zoe felt a wave of frustration wash over her, but deep down, she understood the stakes had shifted. With tensions mounting, now wasn't the time for distractions. Ethan, take it outside, she whispered urgently, her throat dry. As Ethan stepped away, Zoe turned back to Laura, ready to fight for their vision. Her heart raced, not just with fear but with fierce determination. I know we can make this work, she asserted. Her voice ringing with new strength. Then Laura's expression softened slightly. If you want my support, you'll need to convince me it's worth it. We're taking a big risk here, but maybe, just maybe, I'm willing to entertain your ideas. Prove to me you mean it. Could Zoe turn this fragile opportunity into a full-blown commitment? Everything hung in the balance as she prepared to dive deeper into her vision, determined to break through the walls that Laura had erected. But then, just as another idea began to coalesce in her mind, a sudden clue appeared in the doorway. An unexpected figure loomed on the threshold. Who could it be, and what would it mean for their plan? Zoe's heart skipped a beat as she turned toward the doorway. The familiar silhouette of Maria, the new waitress from the cafe 2 floors down, stood framed in the entrance. Zoe had only chatted with her a few times, but there was something captivating about the way Maria carried herself, like she was a force, waiting just off stage to step into the spotlight. Excuse me, Maria said, her voice smooth and unassuming, yet filled with an unmistakable determination. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I overheard your conversation about the workshop. Zoe felt a mixture of confusion and curiosity. Was this the right time for someone like Maria to dive into such a high-stakes discussion? Laura seemed taken aback, her brows furrowing slightly as she scrutinized the young woman. Ethan returned, clearly distracted. Who is this? He asked, glancing between them. I'm Maria, she replied confidently, her dark eyes sparkling. I work downstairs, and I just wanted to say that I think workshops like these can be truly transformative, if done right. Zoe could feel Laura's skepticism tightening the air, and the last thing she wanted was to divert their focus back to square one. Thanks, but where she started, but Maria held up a hand, her expression earnest. Let me finish, Maria insisted softly. I may not be in your field or working at a high level, but I've seen firsthand how people feel in the workplace. Sometimes, they just want to be heard, to feel like they matter. Laura's gaze softened ever so slightly. Zoe felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Could Maria represent that voice they were trying to connect with? I could help you with some ideas, Maria continued, her fervor growing. I see people come in every day, tired and worn down. I believe that change starts with just one conversation. If you can dive into these issues honestly, people will want to join in. Zoe's mind raced. This was exactly the kind of perspective they needed. That's it. She exclaimed. We could incorporate real voices into our workshop. People like you, who experience these dynamics daily, can bring authenticity to our pitch. Ethan nodded rapidly, catching the wave of enthusiasm. Yes. A genuine approach could resonate with the entire team. People are more likely to engage if they hear relatable experiences. Laura's expression was still thoughtful, but now there seemed to be a hint of intrigue. Interesting, she replied, a spark of interest rekindling in her eyes. But it's a risk, Maria. You're talking about opening doors in a department that may not be cool with it. I'm all for taking risks, Maria replied, her gaze steady. Sometimes it's the unexpected that brings the best changes. The silence that followed felt electric. Zoe could sense the room shift as everyone absorbed Maria's words. With every passing second, hope bubbled within her. This might just be the breakthrough they needed. All right, Laura said finally, leaning back in her chair. If you think this can work, let us explore it further. But I need to see a concrete plan, and I mean concrete. Zoe felt the pressure mount but also the excitement of possibility. With Maria's insight, they had a chance to craft something genuine. Let us brainstorm. Zoe burst out, her voice bubbling with excitement. Maria, can you join us? I think we could really create something special together. As they huddled around the table, excitement filled the air. Ideas flowed freely, laughter punctured the earlier tension, and Zoe felt a warmth growing in her chest. But just as they were starting to hit their stride, Ethan's phone buzzed again, and this time the look on his face sent an icy shiver through her. Something big must be happening, and whatever it was, it could change everything they just built. Zoe's heart raced. Ethan, what is it? He looked up, his face pale. It's bad, there's an unexpected crisis in the office with the future of their workshop and maybe even their careers hanging by a thread. Zoe knew they had to act fast. Would they be able to navigate this storm, or would everything they had worked for unravel in an instant? The storm brewing in the office was unlike anything Zoe had faced before. The words unexpected crisis echoed in her ears as she turned to Ethan. His expression was a mix of urgency and concern, and the atmosphere in the conference room shifted once more. Zoe's heart raced, the weight of everything they had worked for hanging in the balance. What happened? She managed to ask, bracing for the worst. Ethan exhaled slowly, gathering his thoughts. There's been a serious data breach. The whole company is on emergency lockdown. People are panicking, project timelines are going to be affected, and chaos is spreading. Fear clawed at her insides, but amid the panic, a flicker of determination ignited. This was her moment. We can't let this derail our progress, Zoe stated, her voice steady. We heard Maria's ideas about how to connect with people. We can channel this crisis into an opportunity to build trust and show everyone we care. Laura looked skeptical but intrigued. Really? In the middle of this? You're risk takers, I'll give you that. But if we don't act now, people will feel lost and unheard, Zoe pressed, her heart pounding. If we can create a plan that fosters open communication during this crisis, it may not only bring people together but also add credibility to our workshop initiative. Ethan nodded in agreement, his earlier dread shifting toward resolve. We have to be proactive. If we can offer real solutions during this turmoil, it might spark the engagement we desperately need. Maria chimed in, her voice steady as she longed to contribute. I'm here, and I see how people are responding. Let's create a platform for them to express their fears and suggestions. What if we set up quick team huddles, allowing everyone to voice their concerns and share experiences? Zoe felt the energy in the room start to shift. Yes. If we can implement informal meetings, we can gather immediate feedback. This could highlight our commitment to the team, laying a foundation for our workshop. A sense of urgency propelled them forward, brainstorming ideas and strategies that turned panic into purpose. The atmosphere crackled with hope as they crafted a plan to address the crisis, all while framing it as a chance to harness collective strength. Laura, who had initially been the most skeptical, began to lean in. Fine, if you think this can work, I want a blueprint ready by the end of the day. I'll support you on 2 conditions: you must directly involve employees in every step, and you show quantifiable results from these huddles. Trust can't be built on blind optimism. Zoe nodded fervently, the fiery rush of excitement sweeping away the remnants of fear. Thank you, Laura. We're on it. As they wrapped up their plans, Zoe couldn't shake the sense of transformation radiating through the team. They were rallying together, not just for their workshop, but for everyone involved. Each idea exchanged, each voice lifted sparked a strengthening bond, a union fueled by a shared purpose that in the midst of the chaos, Zoe now felt a truth swelling within her. She wasn't just a waitress anymore, but an architect of change, someone who could inspire a new way of thinking. Later that evening, as Zoe stepped outside, the weight of the day lifted, replaced by a sense of empowerment. She called her grandmother, her voice shaking with emotion. We did it, Grandma. We created a response plan and it might change everything. Zoe, my dear, her grandmother's voice twinkled through the phone, you've always had the power inside you. I never doubted you could make change happen. Just remember, the best changes come when you stay true to yourself and listen to others. The warmth of her grandmother's words wrapped around Zoe like a comforting embrace. Sitting across from Ethan a few hours later, celebrating their small victory over ice cream, Zoe felt contentment bloom within her. I can't believe we pulled that off. Ethan smiled, his eyes glowing with admiration. You were the fire. It was your heart that guided us through. She wanted to believe that every moment led her here, that every struggle was laying the groundwork for something far greater than she ever envisioned. The next morning, as the team gathered for the first huddle, Zoe took a deep breath, feeling the support of everyone by her side. Let's take this moment to reflect, share, and listen. Nobody is alone in this, together we'll find a way through. With their voices rising together, she realized that her journey had only just begun. The shadows of doubt had been replaced with glimmers of promise as they embraced the chaos and crafted something elegant from it. And in that moment, Zoe knew she wouldn't just survive, she'd thrive, proving that transformation is born from resilience, authenticity, and the courage to voice it all. So remember, whenever life challenges you with chaos, listen closely. The voices around you may just help you rise above. Now is the moment to take action. You need to subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and support us in reaching more amazing people. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is what keeps this community strong. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this powerful ending. Let us keep this movement alive.